Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Michelle and I am the owner of Lily Rose Craft Room. And for today's video, we're going to be making a punch needle mug rug. And these mug rugs have been becoming very popular lately. It's basically a coaster. You could put your drink on top of it, or it could just be a desk decoration. But for this video, we're gonna be making this toad from the Super Mario Bros movie. I recently saw it. Well, I've loved Super Mario my whole entire life, but we recently saw the movie and I'm obsessed with it again. So we're gonna be making Toad, and I'm fairly new to these punch needle mug rugs. So this is like my 7th one, but I'm not a professional. I'm gonna show you guys what I know and what I've learned along the way. And I just wanna show you guys my first one. Not great. I'm learning how to like define the lines. So this is my first one. This is my second one, a little cow. This yin yang heart one. And then I recently made these the other day, these evil eye ones, and these are so cute. And I'm telling you, I'm obsessed with making these. Like, I just want to make all of them. But for today's video, we're gonna be making the toad. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on any new videos. And yeah, let's get on to the video. All right, so these are the basic things that you're gonna be needing: a grip hoop, a punch needle, some scissors, monk's cloth, and yarn. Everything that I use, I will be linking it in the description below so you guys won't have any trouble finding it. So the fabric that I'm going to be using, it's called monk's cloth. And I got it at Michael's. It came in like in a big roll, I think for like $7 or $12. So for this video, I'm going to be using the monk's cloth. And this hoop that I'm using, it's an 8-inch grip hoop, and I got from an Etsy shop. It's called PunchyStuff. She also has an Instagram. And I really recommend you guys order from her because she's really sweet and she's knowledgeable about this stuff. She answered all my questions, and I still reach out to her if I have a question. So, you know, it comes with customer service. So order from her. She's really nice and she's really helpful. So what I'm going to do is I put the monk's cloth over the inner part of the hoop. And then I loosened up that screw on the top. That way the outer hoop can fit around the inner hoop. And then after we get that over, we're going to tighten it. And also the inner hoop has a lip, so you want to get the outer hoop under that lip so that way it could grip your fabric. And if you guys get confused about, you know, the inner hoop, if it's upside down or whatever, the cool thing about it is it says top. So if it says top, you got it right. So next, what we're going to do after I got that outer hoop under the lip, you're going to tighten it a little bit, and then you're going to start pulling the fabric. That way it has good tension when you're punching the needle through. I think punch needling is pretty easy. I really got the hang of it the first time, but the only like hard, tricky part about it, well, not even hard, but just like annoying part is getting the fabric on. So that's like the least thing I like to do. But, you know, you got to do it. So what I like to do is I push the hoop like on my belly and I push the fabric down. So that's just easy, the easiest way for me, whatever works for me, you know. So you're just going to keep pulling the fabric down until it's nice and has good tension. So then you want to keep screwing the screw. That way it grips it really, really tight and it doesn't move on you. And once you got it on good, it should feel like a drum. So we're just gonna cut off the excess because we don't need it. And one thing I do recommend, like if you plan on doing a lot of these, I recommend getting a bigger one. That way you're not wasting fabric. My next thing that I want to buy for this stuff is like a big, long rectangle one. That way I could, you know, make a lot at once and I'm not wasting so much fabric. And what I meant about cutting off the excess, we didn't need it for this video, but save it. Maybe it could fit again on that hoop or on something else, but don't throw it away. So on to the next step. I'm using my tablet because my phone's not big enough for the size that I want. So I went on Google and I found the picture of this toad, the mushroom head, and I uploaded it to my Cricut. That way I'm able to adjust the size. The size used for mug rugs is typically like 3 to 4 inches. I have this coaster, so this is what I use like to size it. I just make it that size. And that coaster is a 3.98 inches, 3.98 inches. So I just make it to that size, and then I flip my hoop upside down and I just put it on top of my tablet and I carefully trace it. And I know there's easier ways to do this, like getting a projector, but I don't have that. So for now, I'm using my tablet until I could get something better. And when I'm tracing over with the tablet under, it kind of gets a little bit tricky because sometimes it likes to move. So you gotta be careful to really hold it, but make sure your hand is not touching the screen because then the mushroom will like resize. So it's just a little tricky. And like I said, I know there's a better way, but this is what works for me right now. So this is what we're doing. And also I wanted to say with the monk's cloth, it's a little difficult like tracing it just because the weave is a little larger. And there's also another fabric you can use for punch needling. It's called linen, cotton linen. And with those, the weave is a little bit smaller, so it makes tracing it a little more easier. I'm gonna speed up this process just a little bit, that way we can move on to the next step. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, if you're just barely starting out using punch needles, the area that you're drawing on, that's gonna be the back side. So if you're gonna make something with words or letters, you're gonna make sure you want to mirror that image. That way it doesn't come out backwards. So next, what I like to do is I like to write what color that area is supposed to be, like W for white, R for red, and then T for tan. The eyes, I already know they're black, so I just left them like that. So that's what I like to do. That way I don't forget. So this is the needle that I'm going to be using. I also got it from PunchyStuff. And the cool thing about it is that you can adjust the needle length of it. So you could just unscrew it and then you could put it up or down. I made a mark on the size that I like. That way I don't forget. Just so you know, the longer the needle, the longer the yarn is going to be when you punch it through. And the shorter the yarn is going to be. Moving on to the next step, I'm going to show you guys how to thread the yarn into the needle. So this right here is a threader, and it's like a little wire. So what you're going to do is you're going to pinch the end of it just like that, and you're going to push it through that little hole, and with your thumb you're going to guide it down and just feed it through until you see it on the other side. Once it comes out the end, you're going to open the wire, and then you're going to get some yarn and just feed it through like that. And then you're going to slowly pull it out from the top, but back. Make sure it's going to come out from that hole. And once it's out, you're ready to start punch needling. And the cool thing about it, you don't have to, there's no tying involved. Like you just punch and then cut and then just keep going. Okay, and here is the easy and fun part, punch needling. So when you start, you always want to make sure the hole of the needle is always in front. So you're just gonna punch and then go over just a little tiny bit and then punch down again. You also want to make sure you're holding your hoop up. That way your needle is not constantly hitting the table or something. You need to make sure the needle goes all the way down, because that's how your rug is going to be even on the other side. And the reason the weave looks a little bit like open is because I filmed the whole entire thing. Well, not the whole entire thing, but like the white part. So I was done doing the white parts, and then my camera shut off. And I know for a fact I was recording, but for some reason it didn't save when the battery died or something. So I was like, are you kidding me? So I just got the end of the loop, the end of the yarn and just and pull it out. And the cool thing about this is like if you mess up, you could just pull it out and just like rearrange the weave on the fabric. Just rearrange it just with your finger or something, like scrape it back into place. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what happened, but I had to refilm it. So I just took everything out and started again. So that's why, you know, the weave is a little open. So yeah, that's what happened. Anyways, so I hope this part is pretty self-explanatory. I'm just going around and around. I'm making sure the rows are pretty close to each other. That way the rug on the other side looks pretty full. I know with the white yarn, it's kind of hard to tell or hard to see. Even like in real life, I have to like get really, really close. Like, did I get that part or is that the fabric? Especially like towards the center part. So the white part, it's kind of hard to see, but the other colors will be easier. All right, so now that we've closed the circle, I'm gonna show you guys how I cut it so we can move on to the next part. So I grab my scissors and I just pinch it, but don't cut it yet. And then you're gonna pull up the needle and you cut it. So the reason why we hold the yarn as we pull up the needle is because if you just pull up the needle, you risk the part of pulling out your yarn from the fabric. So this is what it looks like on the other side. So I'm just gonna blow right past these other two sides of the head because it's really hard to see. So we're just gonna fast forward that part really fast. All right, so we're gonna be moving on to the red part. I wanna mention I'm using size 4 yarn. So I know there's like, I don't know how many sizes there are, 1 through whatever, but I use 4. So that's the size that fits in the needle hole. And I'm just threading the yarn through the needle like how we did before, and then after we can start punching the head. Okay, and here we go with the red. See how I told you with the darker colors or any color other than white, it's easier to see on your fabric. And like how I was saying earlier, it's just easy to see with the red, but the hole of the needle always needs to be facing the direction you're going. So for me, instead of rotating my needle when I'm punching through, it's just easier for me to rotate my whole entire hoop. That way I just keep on going that same direction. And then also when you're punching, you don't want to lift your needle so high because if you lift it up high, you risk the chance of undoing what you already placed. It just will bring it up. And also, I can't stress this enough, but your punches need to be so like close together. That way the back of it, which is going to be your actual picture, looks nice and full. Because if you're taking long stabs, like long gaps, it's going to look fine in the back while you're punching, but if you turn it on the other side, you're going to have gaps. So the closer, the more fuller your mug rug is going to look and more prettier. So I'm just going to go around and around and around with this one. So I'm going to fast forward it a little more just because I know this is pretty self-explanatory, but if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will be sure to answer it. And you also want to remember to give yourself some slack on the yarn. So you see on the side of my table, I have some yarn there. So undo the ball a little bit, give yourself a little pile because you need it to be loose. Because if it's tight, you're not going to get a good punch and it'll just lift up. So the red part is all done, and if you have any strings of yarn, you could go ahead and just clip it. And here is the backside. So it's coming along looking really good. So we just need the face, so we're gonna finish that up and then we're gonna do the full reveal. Alright, and we're all done with the eyeballs, and this is what it looks like on the other side. I like to give it like a little pinch just to like bunch them all together. And you see on the eyes, between the eyes and the head, it looks like you can't put nothing there, but you actually can. So this is like, you got to trust the process on these types of crafts, because it may not look right as you're going, but at the end it's gonna look great. So the next color I'm gonna be using is this antique cream from I Love Cotton. And the cotton ones, the cotton yarn is actually really softer compared to the other ones. I think it's polyester, because it's like, you know, mixed with plastic, but cotton is always softer. So we're gonna be moving on to the face and then we'll be done. And we are done with Mr. Mushroom Head. And it probably took me about an hour to finish it, just because I was filming. But if I was just doing this without filming, it'll probably take me about like 20 to 30 minutes. So what I'm doing now is, with the needle, I'm just rearranging some of the yarn that got mixed up, or if they're like, you know, interlooping with each other. This is a time where you're just gonna move them around to make your lines as straight as possible. So this is what I'm gonna do throughout the whole entire face, just to clean it up a bit. On to the next step. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna seal the carpet on the back. That way we make sure it doesn't come apart at all. So we're gonna take it off from the hoop, and I'm gonna use this carpet adhesive. It's the brand Roberts, a 3095. And what I do is I just get a glove and I use my finger to apply it around. So what this does, it really secures your mug coaster. That way, if it were to get snagged anywhere, it's not going to come off. So I've seen some people skip this step and they'll just use a glue gun to just put the backing on it. And that's okay too, because this mug rug is not going to go through like really heavy use. But this step I just like to do to make sure it's really, really secure. So you just want to add a thin layer, and I left this dry overnight just so it can be tacky. So here we are the next day. It's tacky just how we wanted it to be, and it doesn't have to be left overnight. I just left it overnight because I needed a break. But you could just leave it for a couple hours or until it's dry. And then after it's dry, when you have it tacky, you get your scissors and you're going to cut around it, but not too far in, because we're going to fold these flaps in. So what I like to do next is make little slits all over the coaster. That way we can fold them in. So once you have the slits all over the coaster, you're going to want to fold in those tabs, and it's going to stick because the glue of it's still sticky. So just fold it in all the way around. And after we push in our tabs, we are going to get a piece of felt and we're going to glue gun it to the back of it. What I like to do is make a glue border around the coaster. And my my glue gun was giving me a little trouble. So just go around the coaster and then put some in the center, and then you're going to place it on. You're gonna push your coaster onto your piece of felt really, really tight. Make sure the glue is really nice and bonded to the felt on the back. And then after, you're just gonna get some scissors and just cut closely around it. So this is what it's gonna look like when it's done, and you could just clean it up a little bit with your scissors, trying to make it as neat as possible. And then if some of your edges are lifting up or the glue didn't bond well, you can go ahead and put a little bit more glue with the glue gun. And you just want to inspect your mug rug throughout like all the edges, because you don't want to send out a mug rug if the edges are not all nice and sealed. And here is the finished look of our Toad Man mushroom head. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to watch more, please subscribe. Bye guys.